Hello. Today's devotion comes from Mark chapter 6. It starts with the 53rd verse. It goes like this. When Jesus and his disciples had crossed the lake, they landed at Gennesaret and anchored the boat and came ashore. People immediately recognized Jesus and ran around that whole region, bringing sick people on their mats to wherever they heard he was. Wherever he went, villages, cities, or farming communities, they would place the sick in the marketplaces and beg him to allow them to touch even the hem of his clothing. Everyone who touched him was healed. There's a song that came out in the 90s by Joan Osborne, and it was called If God Was One of Us. And the whole premise was, what would it be like if Jesus were really like one of us today in the modern times? What would it be like if Jesus rode the bus to work, if Jesus had to pay bills and answer the telephone and do those kinds of things? What would happen? And that story, a song, would always bother my mother because she said, well, that's the whole point. Jesus is one of us. That's the whole point. It really bothered her. But it is an interesting idea, an interesting concept to think about. What would happen if Jesus were walking around today? Would there be stadiums filled with people waiting to hear him speak? Or would he go largely unnoticed? I think that in our society today, it'd be a mix of both, right? There'd be large crowds and some people who got it and recognized Jesus for who he was. And there'd be some people who didn't understand until after Jesus had gone. And there'd be others who'd never understand. It's not that different from those in this story. You see, there were some in the story in Jesus' lifetime who got it, who knew who Jesus was, who saw Jesus' healing powers, who knew that if they went and they saw Jesus, even just a little bit of Jesus, they would be healed. But there were many, many who didn't recognize Jesus, who didn't see Jesus for who he was. We see a God who asks us to take our time and to really look at people. I think that's the thing with Jesus. Like he wouldn't have been, like he didn't walk around with a halo around his head. He looked like a regular person. So you had to take the time to look at Jesus, to really look, to see who Jesus was, who Jesus is. And how often do we do that in our daily life? Do we take time to really see people, to really notice who they are, to look at them long enough to understand? Not the person we hope to see or the person we wish to see, but who are they really? What is their character? And is it someone who brings healing or who brings hurt?